Hey. So, wow, he's making a second video? I know, right? I'm surprised too. But hope everyone had a good New Year's. I had a great New Year's. Hope you had a good Christmas. I had an amazing Christmas. One of my best Christmases ever, but I digress. Don't worry, we're not going to have another 9-minute intro. I don't want to keep you too long, but I am surprised I'm actually making a second video because I usually never follow through on things like this. But today I wanted to talk about, it's not really a date I went on, but it's something that was said to me by someone who I did go on like a kind of hangout, but we met on a dating app. It's a little bit complicated, but those details aren't really important. The main thing is that I went and hung out with this person. It was her and two of her friends. And we, like I said, we had met on a dating app, but we had never really been interested in each other like that. But we just knew each other and she invited me out to go hang out with her friends. Of course, at some point during the hangout, I talk about working out, and this person that invited me, her two friends look pretty average as far as shape-wise. Not as an insult or a compliment, just you wouldn't think twice. But the person that invited me, she was definitely far from skinny. I'll put it that way. I won't put it that way. She was definitely a little bit overweight, not in the greatest shape. I mean, I definitely wouldn't say obese. I would never match with someone who has to take selfies in landscape mode. But Joel, that's fatphobic. Yeah, obviously it's fatphobic. Phobic means an aversion to, and I definitely have an aversion to being fat and dating someone who's fat, since that's unhealthy, and being unhealthy means you have a shorter life. And personally for me, I actually quite enjoy life, and I especially enjoy spending my life with my partner, so I don't want them to game quit at 40 years old because even their heart can't keep up with their eating habits. Call me fatphobic, I'll definitely make a video talking about weight and why not dating someone for their weight is perfectly normal and honestly probably should be encouraged, since it's pretty easy to tell what someone actually prioritizes in their life just based on how they look and the shape that they're in. So it's not just you being shallow about looks or anything like that, but we're not talking about that today. So you can imagine I'm, in much better shape than her, right? And that's not like a deal breaker or anything, like that's fine. But for the most part, I definitely want someone who also works out. Quick side note, if you don't know, my Instagram is linked in my about section on my channel page. I'll go ahead and throw up a picture of my physique right now. But if you want to see other pictures and make a better judgment for yourself, then feel free to head over there. But regardless of what you think, I literally have had complete strangers on numerous occasions come up to me and say something like, oh my god, dude, you are freaking huge, you are shredded, especially in the gym, but even literally just at my job, just people I don't even know, family members, friends, and like I said, a lot of the time, complete strangers. So even if you don't think my physique is impressive, I can guarantee you that other people definitely do. So congratulations, you're in the minority for what that's worth. Anyway, now that I've made myself feel better by gloating about my own minuscule accomplishments, the point is that I spend a lot of time working out. And obviously that means I like the gym, I like talking about the gym, I like talking about how I work out, right? Obviously if it comes up in conversation, talking about health and that kind of thing usually comes up. I tend to not really talk about super surface level stuff. I try to get a little bit deeper on and have discussions about things that are a little bit more personal, more large scale, more long-term goals, that kind of thing. At least when you're first getting to know someone to really figure out what they're about. And usually something like working out will come up. Anyway, the hangout goes fine, honestly. I mean, I had a pretty good time. I could have had a better time, but I don't really have any complaints. I was going to get the contact infos of both their friends, but I think I just forgot, or I don't know. I don't even really remember. This was years ago. But we just kind of didn't talk after that. And then I think it was a couple months later, maybe even a year later, I guess she maybe made a new Tinder account or something. I don't know. Maybe we matched on Bumble originally, and then I saw her on Tinder as well. But either way, again, I saw her account on Tinder, so naturally I swiped right and was like, oh hey, I guess we already know each other, how funny. And we had matched actually, I guess, second time. Not that that means anything, I just thought it'd be funny to be like, yo, lol, we know each other. But when we were talking back and forth, she was acting like she didn't know me. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know me? Of course you know me. And we weren't good friends or anything. I wouldn't even say we were friends. We were barely acquaintances, but pretty weird to not remember me, right? And I was describing no, you invited me out to with your friends. I think her name was Maddie or something. It was Maddie and something else. And she was pretending to still not know me. I was I described more of the hangout and a few other details. And she says, oh, you're that guy who thought he was better than everyone else just because he worked out. Or it was something like that. I might be paraphrasing, but it was definitely very close to that. And if it wasn't that, it was something else that then led to her saying something similar to that. But anyway, words like that were exchanged in that conversation. And first of all, I never really said that. I definitely have pride. Without a doubt, I have a lot of pride for the work I've put in my body, especially more so recently. But even back then, for sure, I definitely put in a lot of work. But I never am going to come out and just say, oh, I think I'm better than you. But honestly, I didn't even disagree with her. Not everyone. Not that I think I'm better than everyone because I work out, but almost certainly her. And let me explain what I mean by that. obviously no one really likes putting a value judgment or like a number of how valuable or how important some people are, but we all can agree that there are definitely people, especially when it comes to like in the dating scene or like people you want to be really close friends with, there are definitely people who are like better and worse. Someone who has none of their together, is in a bunch of debt, is addicted to multiple substances, can't hold down a relationship, is definitely not doing as well as someone who has all those things together. Like someone who has, it's kind of the difference between like someone who has their together and someone who doesn't have their together, right? Like you kind of get what I'm saying. I'm not saying like this person is like always going to be better than them and like they are just inherently better. No, but like someone who is just generally tackling life and just doing better. Whether or not the person who is quote unquote doing worse, whether or not that's a product of their environment or their own lack of ambition is totally up for debate. But in the current moment, we can acknowledge that one person still has their together more than the other one, right? Otherwise, we're just denying reality. We can acknowledge that. You can be friends with both, of course, but denying that is a bit absurd. Anyway, I've tiptoed around the topic enough. For me and her, neither one of us like had our own place. I haven't moved out for many reasons. The main one being it took me so long to get a birth certificate. I don't even think I was driving back then, now that I think about it. I don't even think I had my license, so I couldn't even... Yeah, I didn't have my license back then anyway, because I had a long... There's a very long story involving why I didn't even get a birth certificate till I was 18 years old, maybe even 19. Definitely didn't get an ID till I was 19. But anyway, so I had that struggle that was holding me back in life, but she didn't drive either. Neither of us drove. Both of us had like a pretty average job, right? So it's not like one person made a ton more money. And I like to think myself as not someone who's like an asshole. Obviously, if one person's like an a-hole, that's obviously going to factor into what we're calling like better than one person or another, right? If someone's nicer, I'm going to definitely want to hang around them more. Anyway, I might come off as a bit abrasive sometimes, but I'm definitely not like an asshole, and I don't think she was an asshole or anything. But anyway, my point is that if you compare two people and all else being equal, right? The things I talk about, like general compassion, maturity, if you want to consider income, relationship compatibility, or maybe just like relationship readiness, how well they can hold down a relationship, the relationship with their family, how they treat people, how much they have their shit together. All else being equal, if one person works out and one doesn't, yeah, I absolutely do think I'm better than that person. If I literally met like my clone who did everything the same as me, but I worked out and he didn't, yeah, I'm just better than them. Like, I'm sorry to use such a blunt term, but not really. I'm honestly not that sorry, honestly, because can you give me an argument as to why that wouldn't make me better? We all like acknowledge that working out is something that pretty much universally is understood that just improves your life in every aspect. You might be able to make a few arguments here and there for like a very small thing that working out might degrade, but for the most part, if you work out, especially if you work out for health reasons and you prioritize health with working out and exercising and being active, that's just a net positive for all aspects. So yeah, if someone does work out, I would say I'm better than them. Or sorry, if someone does work out compared to someone else, all else being equal, I would absolutely say they're better than them. So it was really odd that like this person who was, it wasn't even like close, right? Like this person was very similar to me, but almost worse off in like every way. She like didn't have a good set of friendships. She didn't have as many past relationships, which I'm not going to sit here and argue that having past relationships makes you a better relationship partner. By no means. I definitely think it's how you act in those relationships. But even then, the relationships she did have were all like really bad. We talked about them. Like I could tell many stories of my past relationships, and it doesn't take a genius to see that regardless of how maybe poor the relationship was, I still acted in a very mature and rational way. Like just because a relationship is bad doesn't mean both people are bad, and also doesn't mean always that one person is at fault. But listening to how she described hers, it showed a lack of maturity, definitely, in some of the stories she was telling. But like her past relationships weren't great, her living situation wasn't great, her ambitions weren't great, her motivation wasn't great. Like I said before, on the whole, in the current moment, like yes, I do just kind of have my together more. And if you want to use the word just better, then yeah, I guess you would say I do think I'm just better than you. It doesn't mean I would never date you. I mean, I wouldn't date her for other reasons, right? We already knew that, and she wouldn't date me for any reasons. That's fine. Like people don't have to be compatible, and usually doesn't have to do with whether or not someone is better than another person, quote unquote. But I don't think that's like a very healthy way at all to look around at the people that surround you and pass value judgments on them. I don't think that's a great way of living life at all. But if you are going to bring that up, then yeah, I do think I'm better than someone because I work out. Again, all else being equal. I think that's a very important point to note. If someone, has a multi-million-dollar company, has a 6-year marriage that's going strong, has multiple kids, has a house, has a super strict schedule that they're super consistent with, has all their shit together, and they just don't really work out, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm better than them. Like that's absurd, right? Obviously, they're probably like older than me. I'm only 21. I just turned 21 in November. So it's really hard to compare two people like that. But I definitely wouldn't just go about and say, oh, I'm better than them because I work out. Like, no, that's absurd. It's not even comparable when you get like really different age ranges, because it's kind of about having your shit together for a certain point in your life at a certain age. And whether or not you don't have your shit together because of things outside of your control, I kind of talked about that in my last video, saying that ignore what's out of your control and just focus on doing what is in your control. And I think that's kind of more what I mean, which is all else being equal of things that are in your control. And it's not like she couldn't work out. It's like she didn't have time. It's like, no, she just didn't, even though she definitely should and would benefit from it, because everyone should and would benefit from it. And she even expressed interest in wanting to work out, but when asked why she didn't, she just kind of deflected and was just like, oh, I will later in life. And I think I even said out loud, I want to say in my head I thought, but I actually think I said it out loud. I was just like, okay, but if you're going to start later, why not start now? Like, if you have the time now and you're not starting now, then it's just a matter of like you're just not motivated enough to do it. And that's kind of in a way, a failing of character. Maybe I'm being a bit extreme with my wording, but in a way, it's definitely a bit of a failure. If you want to start something, you have the time and you're just not doing it. That definitely shows a bit of your character. But she just didn't. And many things like diet, sleep, relationships, working on yourself, therapy, introspective thinking, all these things that, like, again, I didn't know her too well, but based on the decent amount, several hours of interaction I had, of a lot of conversation, I would definitely say I had my shit together in all those aspects more than her, but especially so in the working out situation. So I guess that's really all I'm saying. There's not really some massively profound moral here, but like, yeah, she said that to me and I really found it hard to disagree. I really don't know how the conversation went after that. I'm sure we just unadded each other and realized that she just didn't like me for some reason. Or I guess more accurately, what I would say is that all she took away was that I just thought I was better than everyone because I worked out. And if we're going to do a little bit of diagnostic work, I think why she said that is because these are the kind of things that she actually did genuinely want to do in her life, but she just currently lacked the drive and motivation to actually get started, because it is hard to get started, but you just have to power through it. And I just think that she was procrastinating and putting it off. I hope she's doing better now. I hope she did eventually end up starting the working out that she claimed she wanted to do, but she obviously didn't want it that bad, because if you really want it bad, you're going to start as soon as possible because you want it. Like, you act like you want it. When you really want something, other people can see it. But instead of talking about that and maybe even talk about her struggles, all it seems she wanted to do was project those insecurities onto me, and that's all she took away, was that I thought like that, even though I never even said that. And maybe this is just a video about miscommunication and about misunderstandings, because I never intended to say like, oh, I'm better than you guys because I work out. Do I think it's better that I work out rather than not working out? Of course. But if you take time that you would have been working out and allocate it somewhere else that's important in life, that's great too. I think you should probably try to balance everything, and I do think you have enough hours in the day, if you really want to be able to do those other important things and work out. That's a lot what my last video actually went over, was stop wasting so much of your life and actually do the things that would benefit you in the future. But anyway, I've already talked at length about that. I think that's about it. That was on my mind recently. Not for any particular reason. I just thought I'd make a video to kind of talk about that interaction, because I do feel like some people think like that. When someone works out, they just think, oh, they just think they're better than me because they work out. Maybe it's a good idea to think, what if they are better than you? What if you could work out? And I definitely think that almost anyone who has gone from someone who didn't work out to someone who does work out, when they start working out and look back at their past selves, even if nothing changed, if you go from the exact same person and then over a year, all you do is get in better shape because you started working out, you're going to look at yourself from a year ago and 100% you're going to think, man, I'm just better than them. Even if nothing else changed, you're going to be like, man, I'm better than them. I have my schedule more together. I'm in better shape. I feel better. I look better. Everything's just better. I'm just better than them. And I think everyone who works out would agree that they're just better for it. And if you disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what a counter argument to this would be. But I just thought it was really interesting that she would say that. And it's like, yeah, I do think I'm actually better than you because I work out. If you want to put it like that, even though I never said that, but if you want to say that, I mean, I'm not really going to disagree with you. Anyway, once again, hope you guys had a great New Year's. I was hoping to get this video out before New Year's, but we love procrastinating. We love filling our lives with pointless shit that we don't need to do. I'm a victim of it too. And hey, while we're on the topic, my last video talks a lot more about that in depth, so go check that out. It's also my first video, and I put a lot more work into it than I have on anything in a long time. And I don't know if I'm proud of it, but it felt good to finish. If you like the video, then like the video. If you dislike the video, then dislike the video. And if you kind of like the way I talk, or maybe you just like the sound of my voice, then I would recommend you subscribe. It's free and you can always unsubscribe. At this point, I can't stop now, so there's definitely going to be more coming. And make sure to take my opinion with a pretty hefty grain of salt, because I am still not a YouTuber.